So do we have other speakers who wish to stand up and address the panel? Yes, sir.
My name is Paul Sargent.
Okay, please, would you sort of say who you are in the context of your voice that you wish to raise?
You'd like to know what I'd like to say before I say it?
No, it's just if you identify yourself, because I would like to know whether or not the panel should be listening to your speech.
Okay, my name is Paul Sargent. I live in Walker Road, and I would like to give a view which is of a local resident. And
Please, I'll give you 2 minutes if you'd like to come up with
it's 2 minutes. 2 minutes is wonderful. Yeah,
That's fine.
I can't actually talk.
It's just normally speakers register their interest to speak in advance. And clearly, I would have no idea, the panel would have no idea whether or not the point you wish to make is relevant to the issue.
Yeah, sure. I apologise. I didn't know that, and I actually didn't know about this meeting until lunchtime. So I'll be very quick and to the point. My name is Paul Sargent, I live at 13 Walker Road. I'm pleased to be here this evening with a number of other people who live quite close by. Is Simon here?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to mention you by name. I met Simon for the first time last night. He used to live in a lovely news house just alongside Hyde Park in London. And just last year he moved to Maidenhead. Living near Hyde Park is wonderful. It's been preserved for many years. No doubt there's enormous pressure in London on space that needs to be made available for all sorts of things, such as very worthy and laudable schools that we've just heard about. But that's been resisted for a very long time, and that's one of the things that makes London the great city it is today. So the point we make here is that the principle of not building in greenbelt public space, I think it's quite unthinkable that anyone would want to build on Hyde Park, by the way. I completely agree with that. So I'd just like to say that while I support the school and everything you've told us about it, I think that the principle that because there's a lot of pressure that something needs to be expanded, for me, isn't actually strong enough as a reason to build on greenbelt.
Thank you.
And there's just one further point to make about schools expanding, because there's a school, used to be called Woodbury, the other end of the park, where my daughter went. It's got a new name now, I think. And I think we recently approved an application to expand that, and some car parking was going to be expanded into the park as well. So just to mention that's
Thank you. At the risk of clarifying and being specific, this panel is always interested in residents' views, and I hope we always will listen and try and make it as possible. The matter before it is specifically around the consultation process that has gone on, and whether or not we need to modify the status quo in terms of referral back for further consideration, or whether we're content with the process that's there. So with that in mind, if members of the panel can keep their concentration on those points, whilst obviously listening to the very significant concerns and aspirations that can exist. So I'd like to allow David to start the opportunity to take us through some of his background.
Thank you, Chairman. I feel reasonably well placed to give you this information this evening as I worked with Joe at the outset in a former role when I was involved in education in terms of the establishment of the school. But tonight's focus of the calling is around the school being located at Berwick Park. I thought it might be helpful just to outline what we run through. I will provide a little bit more context to the issue before panel, and I hope that the background and the approach that we've adopted to get to where we are today will be clearer for all by the time we're finished. I'll talk a little bit about the existing use of the site and the master plan approach, which has for many years sought to deal with the multiple users of the site. We obviously have got the proposal for Forest Bridge School to use some of the existing site to talk a little bit about that existing land. There have been consultations, and I will go through in a little bit more detail the consultations that have taken place, because there is obviously some misunderstanding in the room about what has happened so far. The ONS panel presentation, which I referred to there, I understood had been brought to the Culture and Community Services panel, but in talking to the park today, I've established that I'm mistaken in that, and my apologies for that. So the documentation that I'll talk about relates to the press briefings that were done by Kevin Mist and Councillor Mrs Rayner as part of the launch of the consultation process. And then I'll try and wrap up with some key issues that I think relate to the basis of the calling that Simon has described. And then I'm happy to try and take questions again if I've left things uncovered that you think I should have covered. So, as many people in the room will know, Braywick Park is a very large site. It has multiple users, many different sports and recreational purposes. Some of those are formal sports, some of those are informal recreational uses, and it occupies the stretch to the east of the Braywick Road as you come into Maidenhead. You can see a number of the pictures marked out. Obviously there is the running track, there's the relatively recently added 4G rugby pitch, and the other supporting pitches. Elsewhere in the park, in addition to those formal sports provisions, there is, until, well, still in present, but there is a golf driving range, there is the cemetery, and then towards the southern end, we've heard reference to there is a school, the nature centre, important located there. And it's safe to say, I think everyone in the room probably realises that that is a focal point for dog walkers. It is a very heavily used space for visitors to the park who make and enjoy much of the woodland area. And the informally landscaped area that's shown really at the top right-hand corner of that overview of the main part of the site. The site has quite a complex history in that it is largely and when I say largely, the area that's shaded in pale blue there is former landfill. And the site was used heavily for landfill until the early 80s when the import stopped. And indeed the area that's to the eastern side and is a raised area, was I think capped in about 1983 before, and has subsequently been significantly landscaped and planted to provide the informal recreational area that it is today. So as I say, it is a large site, it has multiple users, many of them are formal sports clubs of one sort or another, but there are equally many other informal regular users who make use of the site. Some of those users use it as a base and use it to then go elsewhere in terms of their recreational activities. Many of you will know that there are large numbers of jogging or running groups that collect at the site and then run on routes that go outside the park. I mentioned the complex ground conditions of the former use as a landfill site. There is a long-standing user group, Braywick Park user groups, Councillor Werner referred to them earlier on, and they are made up of a mixture of a cross-section of the different user groups that exist in the park and have contributed towards the master plan approach that the borough has adopted towards the development of this park for its current purposes. That master plan, as I say, has been in place for many years and provides the overall vision for the park and how it links to the leisure provision, or a part of the leisure provision and leisure solution, particularly for Maidenhead, but for further afield as well, from the nature of the clubs. People do come from other parts of the borough, and to a certain extent, inevitably from outside of the borough as well. The master plan approach is important from a leisure, recreational, community use perspective in terms of linking to the wider regeneration plans for Maidenhead and the borough. And indeed, as you know, the proposals are for the Magnet Leisure Centre currently in the St Cloud Road area to be relocated to the site as part of the regeneration plans. So the specific part of the site is the area marked out in red there. That is made up of broadly 2 spaces. More than half of it is currently subject to a lease with the Maidenhead Target Shooting Club, and so it is closely fenced, bunded, and only accessible to those members who are members of that club. There is then an area to the west, so broadly speaking where the word proposed in school is, and that slot that runs parallel to what is the shooting club, is a relatively unused piece of land, and is adjacent to what is shown outlined in green there, which is the proposed site of the relocated leisure centre. The area in pale blue on that chart shows the indicative area of where there's likely to be the shared multi-use games area, which was referred to by Joe earlier on in terms of sharing facilities with the potential school site as defined by the red line. Many of you may not have seen inside the area which is fenced off and bundled off because it's used as the target shooting range. There are some quite old buildings. They're not in the best of condition, which you can see in the bottom left there. There is a small car parking area adjacent to what is a garaged area, which you can just see in the top right-hand corner. The garage area is used for a mixture of purposes, including some storage available to the rugby club and some storage available to the grounds maintenance contractors. You can then see the 2 main ranges. There's a 50-metre range and a 100-metre range in the top right corner, with the butts at the back. And then there's this additional piece of land that I explained in the bottom right there, which is effectively to the eastern end of what is the Braywick Heath Nursery site, and again it's only accessible through the Braywick Heath Nurseries area. So both those areas are subject to leases to those specific organisations. In terms of the consultation, there was a significant consultation process that took place in the autumn of last year. This began with a press briefing predominantly with the Maidenhead Advertiser, which was on the 25th of October, and led to a public consultation exercise that ran through until December. That was promoted not only through that press briefing, which Councillor Mrs. Rayner launched with Kevin List, but was supported by press articles and press releases which were on the front page of the borough's website. The advertiser helped us with a public engagement, and there was a formal launch of that with a significant article in the advertiser on the 27th of October. And as a result of that consultation exercise, we received over 110 responses from the public. As I say, the launch was in October, and the exercise drew broadly on that plan of the site in terms of its master plan, which shows the use of Forestbridge School behind what is Braywick Heath Nurseries and Staffordton Lodge at Toby Carberry, and indicated the zone that was being assigned for the leisure centre, with the cemetery area immediately to the south. So, the presentation on the proposals for Braywick Leisure Centre, which were the focus of that launch activity included the proposal for Forest Village School to be a part of the relocation and reuse of the site. As I indicated, it was clearly visible on the charts. It was a part of our overall master plan approach to the site, and that master plan approach has been used for a number of different improvements on the site over the years that I'm aware of, and that has included and involved many of the clubs, the re-provision of the changing facilities which lie between the original 3G AstroTurf's pitch and the Sports-Able Club, which provides 10 sets of changing rooms, was a part of that master plan development a few years ago. And we regularly attend with the other users from the clubs to the user group meetings that are held. As I say, we received I think it was 112 responses. When I double-checked the figures, I knew it was over 110, it was 112. And of all of those comments, none raised the proposed school on the site as outlined as an issue. And indeed, none of the responses that we received from the current users were with reference to the use of the school on the area that I've described. In terms of what was the basis of those comments, they broadly fell into two areas. There were those that were suggestions in terms of the facilities that we might look to include in the development, particularly with reference to the sports centre, the re-provision of the Magnet Leisure Centre, and then there were others that were comments or questions about how a re-provided